With no savings and nowhere to go, the first few months were the hardest. The landlord threatened eviction more than once. She ignored the warning signs, swallowing painkillers to keep going. A neighbor once stood too close on the elevator, his breath reeking of alcohol. Welcome back to Get Real with JB, the podcast where we dive deep into raw, unfiltered stories of resilience, survival, and truth. Today's episode is not easy to listen to, but it's one we all need to hear. It's the story of Ria, a mother who walked out of a marriage with nothing but her toddler in her arms and a fierce determination to survive. Left to navigate a cruel legal system, relentless financial pressure, and the constant threat of exploitation, Ria's reality was not just about making ends meet, it was about holding her world together with bare hands while it crumbled around her. This is not a tale of triumph wrapped out in a neat little bow. There's no miracle rescue, no overnight success. Just a woman showing up every day, exhausted and unseen, because her child's future depended on her strength. It's a story about what it really means to fight when hope is gone, when support is a myth, and when the world would rather look away. So grab your headphones, take a deep breath, and let's get real. Ria sat in the dim glow of a tiny rented apartment in Mumbai, staring at the bills spread before her. The numbers blurred together, but the weight of them pressed on her chest like an anchor. Rent was due, school fees were overdue. The electricity bill threatened to plunge them into darkness. She had walked out of a marriage with nothing but her 2-year-old son Rihan clinging to her shoulder. Her ex-husband Vikram had always been irresponsible with money, but during the divorce proceedings, he ensured he wouldn't have to support her. Claiming he was handicapped and unable to earn, he successfully dodged alimony. It was a lie. He had a minor nerve damage in his left leg from an accident years ago, but it never stopped him from driving, partying, or traveling for leisure. Still, the court accepted his plea and Ria was left with nothing. She had no family to turn to. Her parents had disowned her when she married Vikram against their wishes, and her relatives were either indifferent or too distant to help. With no savings and nowhere to go, the first few months were the hardest. She found a job as a receptionist, but the salary barely covered the basics. Vihan was enrolled in an expensive private school, a decision she made before her marriage crumbled. She couldn't bring herself to transfer him to a cheaper school. The thought of him sitting in a crowded classroom with peeling walls and overworked teachers broke her heart. She wanted him to have the best, even if it meant she had to suffer. Her routine became relentless. She woke up before dawn, packed Vihan's lunch, and rushed to work. In the evenings, she picked up extra shifts, data entry, typing assignments, anything that paid. She barely had time to sit, let alone breathe. There were nights she came home to find Vihan asleep, his books scattered around him, his small frame curled up in exhaustion, his tiny fingers still clutching a pencil as if he had fought to stay awake for her. The sight crushed her. She would kneel beside him, brushing back his unruly hair, whispering apologies he wouldn't hear. Guilt gnawed at her, but she had no choice. The worst moments came when the bills piled up. The electricity bill loomed over her like a threat, but she always managed to scrape together just enough to keep the lights on. Still, the financial pressure was suffocating. She borrowed money from colleagues, promising to pay it back soon, though she had no idea how. The landlord threatened eviction more than once, his voice laced with impatience. She dreaded those encounters, the way he looked at her, his tone shifting between fake sympathy and veiled threats. Each day felt like a desperate attempt to hold everything together while the ground beneath her crumbled. Her body bore the marks of exhaustion, dark circles that deepened with each sleepless night, limbs that ached as if weighed down by the burdens she carried, and a persistent headache that never truly went away. Her reflection in the mirror became unrecognizable, a face carved with stress and worry. The toll on her health was undeniable. She caught colds that lingered for weeks, her immune system worn down by relentless fatigue. Her hair thinned, falling in strands onto her pillow each morning. She often felt dizzy at work, but there was no time to rest. The pressure was suffocating, bills to pay, rent to manage, and Vihan's future to secure. She ignored the warning signs, swallowing painkillers to keep going. Every day was a battle against time, against financial ruin, against the loneliness that gnawed at her soul, an invisible weight pressing down on her chest. But the world did not pause for her suffering, so she did what she always did. She kept moving forward. But the worst struggles weren't financial, they were emotional, psychological, and far more insidious. Men saw her as vulnerable, a woman without protection, a desperate mother who could be manipulated. Colleagues offered help with lingering glances and suggestive remarks. A neighbor once stood too close in the elevator, his breath reeking of alcohol, as he asked if she was lonely. Even at work, the manager who knew her desperation conveniently forgot to process her overtime pay unless she talked to him in private. She learned to navigate these encounters, brushing them off with forced smiles or feigned ignorance. But the fear never left her. The knowledge that she had no safety net, no one to turn to, made her hyper aware of every interaction, every risk. One evening, as she walked home, she saw Vikram at a cafe surrounded by friends, his laughter ringing through the air like a sharp reminder of everything she had lost. He looked well fed, his shirt crisp, his watch glinting under the cafe's warm lights. He leaned back in his chair, completely at ease, sipping his overpriced coffee, untouched by the chaos he had abandoned her to face alone. Ria stopped in her tracks, her breath catching in her throat. Her own clothes were wrinkled from a long day at work. Her feet ached from walking because she had chosen to save an auto fare. The contrast between them was staggering. Anger surged through her, hot and bitter. How was it so easy for him? How did he get to walk away unscathed while she bore every burden? But she swallowed it down. There was no room for resentment. She had to survive. She adjusted the strap of a worn out bag, steadied herself, and kept walking because there was no other choice. But survival came at a cost. The constant stress chipped away at her, draining her energy and dulling the light in her eyes. She cried in the bathroom at work, biting down on her sleeve to muffle the sound, her body shaking from the weight of it all. At times, the pressure became unbearable, her mind a battlefield of self doubt, exhaustion, and quiet despair. The loneliness was the hardest part. She envied other mothers who had partners to share their burdens, someone to hold them when the world felt too heavy. The injustice of it gnawed at her, how society was quick to judge single mothers, painting them as reckless or unworthy, yet offered no support when they struggled. It was a world where she had to prove herself every single day, and even then, it never seemed enough. There was no happy ending, no miracle that lifted her out of the suffocating weight of daily survival. Just another day, another battle, another relentless cycle of exhaustion and sacrifice. The darkness of her reality was unshakable, stretching into every waking moment, clouding even the briefest moments of respite. But still, she endured. She didn't endure because she had faith that things would change. Hope was a luxury she could not afford. She endured because she had no choice, because stopping, breaking, or giving up would mean failure, and failure was not an option when Vihan's future depended on her strength. In the silent moments of the night when the weight of the world felt unbearable, she still woke up next day and did it all over again. And perhaps in that unyielding perseverance, in the refusal to collapse under the system designed to break her, was a quiet, unseen victory that no one would ever applaud, but one that mattered most of all. This story lingers with me in a way that's difficult to describe. It's not just sadness or frustration, it's deep, gnawing sense of helplessness. When I heard about Ria's story from her own mouth, all I could think was about how unfair it all was, how she never asked for this, how she started out like anyone else, believing in love where she wouldn't have to carry everything alone. And yet, there she was, weighed down by responsibilities that should have been shared, navigating a world that refused to give her even a moment of relief. What unsettles me the most is how society treats women like Ria. We call them strong, resilient, hardworking, as if those are words supposed to make up for the complete lack of support they receive. We admire them from a distance, clapping for their perseverance without ever asking why they had to be so strong in the first place. Why do we live in a world where a woman like Priya has no choice but to struggle endlessly? Why does she have to sacrifice everything just to survive? Strength isn't something she aspired to, it was forced upon her. And that realization makes me angry. The injustice of it all is infuriating. Vikram got to walk away free from responsibility while Ria was left to pick up the shattered pieces of their life. And what's worse is that the system allowed it. He played the victim, manipulated the legal process, and ensured that he wouldn't have to contribute a single rupee to the child he helped create. And no one stopped him. There were no consequences. He still gets to laugh with his friends at a cafe while Ria sits in the dark, exhausted, trying to figure out how to make the next month's rent. The stark contrast between their lives makes my blood boil. And yet, it's not surprising because this is how the world works, isn't it? Men like Vikram get away with things like this all the time. They abandon their families, dodge responsibilities, and move on as if nothing happened. Meanwhile, the women they leave behind are burdened with not just the financial and emotional toll, but also the judgment of society. It's always the woman who is scrutinized. Why did she choose such a man? Why couldn't she make the marriage work? Why is she struggling so much? As if she isn't already drowning under the weight of it all. And beyond the financial struggles, what really broke me was the loneliness, the kind that seeps into your bones and makes everything feel heavier. Ria had no one. Her parents had cut her off, her relatives were distant, and the people around her were either indifferent or opportunistic. Imagine carrying all of that alone, knowing that if you fail, there's no one to catch you. That kind of isolation can eat away at a person. It can make the world feel like a prison where every day is just another battle against forces bigger than yourself. And then there's the fear. The way men saw her vulnerability as an invitation. The way every interaction became a potential threat. Her landlord, her manager, even the stranger in the elevator. So many of them tried to take advantage of her because, in their eyes, she was easy prey. She had no husband, no family, no protection. It makes my stomach turn thinking about how many women experience this every single day. Having to smile through discomfort, having to navigate interactions so carefully, knowing that one wrong move could put them in danger. The level of mental exhaustion is unimaginable. The constant calculations, the quiet fear, the need to always be on guard, it's another burden she had to carry on top of everything else. It's not just about working multiple jobs or struggling with bills. It's the emotional toll of never feeling safe, never being able to let her guard down. She wasn't just fighting for survival financially, she was fighting to keep herself and her son safe in a world that had no mercy for women like her. The scene with Arav sleeping hit me the hardest. The image of his tiny body curled up, school books scattered around him, still holding a pencil in his little hand. I just can't shake it off. Because it's not just about his exhaustion, it's about the unspoken understanding between a mother and her child. Arav might be too young to fully grasp what's happening, but children sense things. They know when their mothers are struggling. They hear the sighs late at night. They see the dark circles, they feel the tension in the air. And even at that age, they start carrying some of that weight too. It hurts to think about all the children growing up like this, watching their mothers sacrifice everything, internalizing the struggle as their own. They learn too soon that life is unfair, that happiness isn't guaranteed, that sometimes, no matter how much you love someone, you can't protect them from the pain. And that kind of realization at such a young age, it stays with you. I keep thinking about how easy it is for the world to ignore women like Ria, to walk past them without noticing, to never ask how they are doing, never offer help, never even acknowledge their pain. And yet, they exist all around us. In every city, every neighborhood, every workplace, mothers fighting silent battles, holding themselves together for the sake of their children. And most of them will never get the relief they deserve. That's what makes me so frustrated. We glorify struggle, especially when it comes to women. We turn their suffering into inspiration as if it's something admirable instead of something that should have never happened in the first place. We say things like, look at her strength, instead of asking, why was she forced to be this strong? We praise resilience instead of creating a world where resilience isn't necessary for survival. And at the end of the day, there's no justice, no miracle that saves Ria from her circumstances. Just another day, another fight, another sacrifice. And that's the part that leaves me feeling so hollow. Because I know that this isn't just a story, it's the reality of our lives. It's the truth for too many women. And no matter how much I wish I could write a different ending, the world doesn't work that way. So, where does that leave us? What do we do with the anger, the helplessness, the frustration? I don't have answers. I just know that stories like Ria's shouldn't be so common. Women like her shouldn't have to live with constant struggle, and yet they do. And the world just keeps turning indifferent to their pain. It makes me wonder how many single mothers are out there right now, staring at bills they can't pay, working themselves to exhaustion, praying for even a small break. How many Arabs are falling asleep with books in their hands, learning about sacrifice before they even learn about childhood? And how much longer will we keep pretending that this is just how life is, instead of demanding something better? Ria's story is one of quiet resilience, of battles fought in the shadows when no one is watching. Her pain, her exhaustion, and her sacrifices will never make headlines, but they shape the future of her son. She is one of many, millions of women who carry the weight of survival on their shoulders with no safety net and no room to fall. Their struggles are unseen, their victories uncelebrated, yet they continue, not because they have a choice, but because they must. For every Ria, there is a world that turns a blind eye, a society that judges but does not help, a system that fails those who need it most. And yet, these women persist. They rise every morning, push through exhaustion, and fight battles they should never have had to fight alone. But should survival always be this hard? Should motherhood come at such an unbearable cost? The burden of single mothers is not just theirs to bear, it is a reflection of the world we live in. What will it take for society to recognize their struggles, not with pity, but with real change? What do you think? Do we have enough for single mothers, or do we simply expect them to endure in silence? Let's start the conversation. If you found this episode meaningful, share it with someone who might need to hear it. And if you have thoughts, experiences, or stories to share, drop a comment or reach out. Your voice matters. Thank you for tuning into today's episode of Get Real with JB. Until next time, take care of yourself and keep it real.